you see how crazy this is getting so quickly? Oh god.
Yeah, the kamikaze.
Yeah, they become like freaking crack. Like they're not as bad when they're normally spawning, but I have them spawn 3 at a time. That draw order didn't work. Okay. Oh, I don't like that. To be honest, like the heavy shot doesn't work on them because I have to make sure line it up so precisely. Oh no.
Okay, yeah, it's not.
Oh, and I died. But yeah, that's how crazy it's getting currently.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is awesome. One, because you could like leave, right? Like you could get away from the boss, settle down, because I have it turning off the map spawn. So it's not like just randomly spawn like where do I have it?
Right, the boss is the only thing spawning things while.
Yeah, so like this is normally like on the in space, like they're just spawning off screen unless I don't actually. Sometimes when you do these operations just right, they work a little better. So I'm gonna do it. So, but for here, I have that like the boss is spawned, so this is changed to true. So this is all turning off. The only things that are spawning are the destroyers, but they're bigger. That's fine. They also always drop something, so that allows the player to get something like a power-up, a place for a power-up. But the fighter ships and the kamikaze ones should be turning off. And it does it's just like I'm like just sitting there playing, I'm like I need to take out those turrets, otherwise they're gonna be shooting at me. These kamikaze things are flying at me like crazy. Like if I stop moving, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, it's gonna look really good whenever everything is like polished.
Yeah, it is like
crazy it's gonna look.
The thing that's making it a bit harder is I can't see the bullets.
Right. Yeah.
They're becoming really hard to see because they're just squares, like they're blocks. If they're like an actual like animated thing, it'll be easier to notice them.
Nice. Here I'll show you the I'll share my screen real quick so you can see the this tiled program.
Okay.
So right now we have 3 basic tile sets. So if I zoom in, you can see the different dirt tile sets, stuff like that. I think actually
Yeah.
there's a ground layer. Yeah. Oh, actually, so there's 4 tile sets. There's like this grass
one. I'm gonna say I don't know if it's your computer or this program is just old, but it reminds me of like Windows XP.
Oh, this computer, yeah, this program is mad old. Like all of the windows and everything are like crazy. Yeah. But so I do have a tile set for the cliffs. So I'm following this thing right here. So I'm following this, but I'm not doing any of the details because we're not doing pixel art. But this helps me figure out how to do the tile sets for all the different textures so that I can, my thought is if I build the map out, if I take off the grid, so if I take off the grid, this is what it looks like. And I made this its own
oh, whoa.
Yeah, so I made this.
It's like its own layer.
Thing. Yeah, its own layer. So oops. So actually, I put this on the wrong layer on accident. I started putting cliffs on the wrong layer. But you can like build these things like indefinitely.
Yeah.
That's so cool. even whenever I do the final art, I can build it in this program. And if I turn the grid back on, so I can sit here and I could go to the ground layer, go to my dirt tile set, and I could just start working on like the road down here.
Yeah.
But the main thing is the main thing that I think I needed to figure out was the cliffs, because it's hard to, like, these shapes, like these really nice perfect curves, don't really translate well to working off of grid, because you have to do like these stair steppy kind of cliffs. But my thought is that I could take this whole thing once it's finished and save it out, export it as a JPEG, then throw it in here, and then I would just take a like a white fill layer, and then turn the opacity down, and I would just start painting over things. So I can build it very basic, but it'll be accurate on a 2D or on a 32-bit grid. But I don't know if that's doing the same thing twice. Like I'm like I'm indifferent on, like, I don't know which is going to be a better idea. Just if I should just say F it to building it in the tiled set and just paint everything, like just draw every individual building, yada yada yada. But if they're tile sets, then I can reuse them. You know, because it's, I mean, I could just like this building here is unique. This building is unique. But if I just had them all built like this and then painted, I mean, I don't have to build it as a tile set. I don't really know what is a better system at the because we're not on grid-based movement at all. So I don't know. I think without doing it one way maybe, and then seeing if whether or not that was like a good idea or not. I mean, what do you think? Like,
personally, I think you need to do whatever is going, like, we're not doing pixel art.
Yeah.
So I think the best thing is going to be whatever saves you the most time.
Right. Which I don't really know what that is going to be, because like if I had a tile set for, like, if I make a basic building tile set, kind of like I have with the cliff, like I could go in here and okay, this is the front of the building, this is the corner of the building. If this was a cliff and not a building, it's super easy to build out. And then it also keeps the perspective, because that's my thing is I don't want it to seem I don't want it to seem like you're looking at stuff at different angles. So the best way to do that is probably to have a tile set. I also haven't figured out how to delete. There it is. So like if I take off the grid, all right, that's a cliff. But do you see how, like, that perfect line and perspective would be a lot easier for me to draw on top of than this, and keeping all of these buildings the same? So my thought is to just build um, build a tile set to make all these buildings just flat shapes like this, and then
Mm-hmm.
go back over um, and build and redraw over them. I don't know which one's going to save more time. Or, I mean, I think that this will work. I mean, I don't need to do all of this. I found that out.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going to see any of that anyways. What I need is just to be able to build these glyphs out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna rock with that, and hopefully it's not a waste of time. But I won't. I don't think I'll know until I do it.
Mm-hmm.
So. Because I can already tell, like, this pillar and this right here they're in the same perspective, but then if you look at some of these buildings, like, you're seeing the tops of them way more.
Yeah.
So, and then you get into complex buildings like a building, if it's turned the other direction, what would that look like? So I think it'll just maybe save me some sanity if everything is already mapped out.
Yeah, I mean, and if I you know, it's just more of like, are you doubling your workload for something that isn't worth it in the end?
I know. Yeah, that's the thing, is that I can't tell. I can't tell if that's true or not.
Mm-hmm. But like, when you make those little like blocks, can you copy and paste them around, or?
So if I made, so I don't know if I can copy and paste them like that. There is like a selection, like I can draw big shapes.
Mm-hmm.
So if I made this building a tile, I could like I could go into here. Like, this is the tile set for the cliff. So you have like side of the cliff, front of the cliff, side of the cliff, the back. I could make a tile set for a basic square building, and I wouldn't be making the buildings unique at all in here. I would just be building basic gray squares, and
Yeah.
then in Clip Studio I'd be painting an actual detailed building. I'm doing air quotes, you can't see me. A detailed building.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, at like full screen, I mean, this is like roughly what, like, I don't know how. What do you think? Like, that's probably the zoom view. It's right here.
Yeah. Roughly ish, maybe.
Maybe a little in, like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that seems about right.
So I mean, like, you do get a decent view of what everything would look like. So, like, with the frog waterfall right here animating, the conference tower over here rotating,
Yeah.
it would make sense, like, to have some detail to it. Obviously not like a lot, but at least make a variety of buildings that aren't animated or moving. I don't think that's gonna be too much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this will be the most annoying part for sure, but
Yeah.
And then all of the red buildings are like the, I guess, like the places of importance or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, all right. Well, that's that. Yeah. So I'm not gonna I don't think I'm gonna bother with the trees, mainly the cliffs and the buildings is what I'm gonna bother with. Because once I started doing the road stuff, this doesn't matter. I mean, you're gonna be so high above it. It doesn't matter if it's, if it's perfectly in line or anything like that, because you don't move on a tile, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And the perspective doesn't matter because it's flat against the ground. So, so it's mainly just the stuff that has perspective. So the buildings, that I may do the tree edges, like the bottoms, just so that I can see where they are, maybe, because I like little tree bottoms, but where's it at? The Zelda. I had a. So this is their cliffs and stuff, and they even have like tall angled ones, so they can make really sharp cliffs, which I thought was pretty neat. Oh, this is all cliff and water stuff, but they have a tree one where it's just tree bottoms and then just tree tops, so that they can make different shapes and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll figure that part out. Which tile sets I want, which ones I don't, just to speed things up. But it doesn't make any sense for me to make a tree tile set to do all of these shapes when these are going to look more organic and shapely than on a grid system. And it doesn't matter it just doesn't matter if they're in a grid or not. So the main thing is this big circle space, getting that done.
Yeah.
This engineering building over here, and then the cliff around now. Because those have to be somewhat precise, so that it doesn't look like you're seeing a side of a cliff you shouldn't actually see.
Yeah.
Like this right here. This whole space shouldn't exist unless it was some super drastic slope. I mean, it should really just be grass and then water. That's it.
Yeah.
So, different stuff. But,
yeah.
All right. All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna, if you wanna, I don't know if you wanna pull up this spreadsheet as well, and we can look and see what so I can make some notes, I guess, and see what art we desperately need, which one is back of the line, or if you want to talk about mechanics first, we can talk about mechanics. I have your.
I mean, game mechanics currently. I think I'm good on for the base game loop for now.
Okay.
This is our quote unquote first boss, even though that when the game is done, it's gonna randomize where you go first.
Right.
But with this, it's more about we call it a cruiser, and then I've called it the Imperial Cruiser. So it's more like this is you are fighting an army. It's spawning ships. They're shooting at you. It's got all these anti-air. That is the challenge. It is a hellscape. Nothing too crazy. So that gameplay loop right now is fine, because I think in the end that shows the very basic gameplay loop that's gonna be there most of the time.
Yeah.
Especially because after you kill a boss, my idea is that you go back out to space into another it could be kind of like the same, always just the same, space region you're flying in, and then it's just that after you hit your next point, milestone or whatever, you zoom off to the next boss biome, and then maybe there's like a screen that's like alert, next boss inbound, or type of thing.
Because I had like in the loop, I had like where you fight in space and then you fight on the surface, and then you get a boss alert once you reached like a certain score. Once you defeat the boss, you go back to space, and then oh, actually, no, I had boss alert return to space, so that's actually not what we're doing. We're gonna fight on the surface. We're gonna fight the boss on the surface.
Yeah.
These need to be switched. Which I like that more, because then we can make it more daunting when you're on the surface. So you fight in space, fight on the surface, you get a boss alert, fight the boss, return to space, and then go to the next biome. Now, are we gonna have like I like the idea of fighting in like fighting in the biome that the planet is like. So every time you defeat a boss, you just go to the next biome automatically, and it's randomized, and you fight in space, and then you go to the surface every time you reach like a certain score. And we'll have to figure out like points wise, like what that means or whatever.
Well, yeah, the thing is like there's like I want a points milestone for people who are trying to go for the highest score, but then also just like people that want to speed run it, they can do that too. So like the points milestones might actually be like very large for when transitions happen, except for like the in-betweens that and that's just like messing with like currently all the points are saved so that like in a way so that they can be exported to a data file. That's what when I start the game, it has like the previous high score of when the game ran. It's like that's all being saved. Right. So having like the space points milestone be smaller than like a milestone to even like
so are we gonna have like a pop-up thing like where you can choose whether or not to go to the biome or not, or you can keep fighting?
No, you'll always push to the biome, but like to get like the like a points milestone for the boss is I'm gonna set pretty high. But there's also like with the anti-air, like I have it so that if you destroy all of them, the boss will spawn.
Yeah.
So then it's always just like you can always just kind of rush the boss, and then I guess it's always once you kill the boss, you're gonna leave. Like you've saved the world, the universe from this enemy. Yeah. On to the next.
Or in our case, we're the terrorists because we just
I don't know.
We should have to their island and killed them.
That's the thing. You were gonna like I'll have people walking around like the child's like we should make it maybe a little more militaristic, and then like the player can decide if we're the bad guys or not. Because if there's just people, we're definitely the bad people. But so yeah, like that's like so you could sit around and try and get a very high score, or you can rush it, but since all the points are kind of being saved globally, every transition can always just be like based off what score you get to that room and how much higher you've gone. It'll then transition you to the next biome. So that'll always be like a set. And I just want it as this kind of like relax, because that loop in space is should never be like too terribly difficult. but it might start indicating, you might get an indication of where you're going next based off the enemies that start spawning.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you're still if so like under the enemies tab for the biomes, like I had like 2 over from where you're at, enemies list. It says like, you know, small ship, medium ship, large ship. I have them kind of themed based on what they're going to encounter on land. So, and I would like for those to like change as they go on. So it's like the, you know, the snow ships are totally different than the volcano ships, and the poisonous ships are like just giant bugs, or, you know, different stuff like that. And they, you know, and they play different. So that would be the other indicator. It's like,
yeah, you get a little indication, but it's always like, you're not like, when you get into that space area, you're now learning the enemy type that you're about to go up against, because they're going to be spawning while you're flying around trying to get the boss to spawn, or just trying to get the points to get the boss to spawn, or, you know, looking for the secret things that no one on that ever watches this will ever know that are here, because I'm not trying not to show that shit, because I have the, you know, the statues that need to spawn. They're spawning randomly.
Oh, you just have them spawning randomly.
I have them spawn one at a time randomly, so that you then destroy them, and I have that working.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so you destroy one and then it spawns randomly.
Yeah, and you don't know where it spawns, so that's like, if you're playing the game, like, those secrets are secrets. You have to search for them.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, oh wait, why is this on this map, and wait, why can't I attack it and destroy it? Like, I'm literally not going to give a lot of indication at all that those are there. You have to search for them.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we wanting the mini boss to be in the demo? I guess, like, what's our goal?
I don't think, like, we don't
play through in the like, how polished do we want the boss to be? Like, are they gonna okay, so let me ask questions. So are they gonna load in to the boss fight already happening, or are they gonna have to destroy the turrets or get a score in order for it to spawn?
Yeah. So, like, for the demo playtest, it's literally like, would be like the full loop of going through, you know, space into biome and fighting a boss.
Okay.
I don't, like, you know, I know it depends on, you know, I mean, to be honest, if we get the loop, it doesn't matter how much of the art is done. If we have a good amount done, that's great. But I just want the boss fight, you know, working. And then that's fine. If we want to throw in, you know, the mini boss, that's fine. But again, those mini bosses are meant to be secret. So we could have it there. But again, I'm not giving any indication to any player who finds it. But it would be cool, like, if someone did, like, you know, decide to spend more than 20 minutes with it, and we're like, whoa, we found this, you know, this spawns in. Or it could just be like, I can have it like display like text on the screen, like, you've figured out how to spawn, you know, this secret boss. Assets coming in the near future. You know,
because I could do I mean, I already have, like, you know, I already have his placeholder done. It's just a static image, but I could do what I did with the comms dish and do like a very basic, you know, attack set, and then go from there.
Yeah, we'll see. The one thing is because he does like this, you know, tongue attack. I need to I'll need to learn how. And I would think it's possible in GameMaker, but how I change a hitbox size.
Okay.
Because, you know, it's not like the animation's gonna happen, and then with that, the hitbox of the tongue should, like, as it gets longer, should change. Like with the charge beam, because it's you click and it's like Spartan Laser. You click, you hold, you shoot. You don't actually notice that when it's not, the beam isn't there. You can still, like, the enemy still gets hit by it.
Yeah.
But it's because the game's running at 60 FPS. That animation's like 30 FPS. Like, this is all happening in a blink of an eye. Like, you do not notice it. But currently, like, technically that hitbox never changes, because I don't know if you can do that in GameMaker or how to do it yet. But I just have made something that works, because it's like a charge up and happen, and then when you see it, like, oh yeah, I hit them.
Okay, so we still there's still like playing around that needs to be done with with abilities and stuff, and that's fine.
At least for like the tongue attack with the frog, if he's like, jumping and then like shooting out rocks and the rocks fling, like, that's I could code that up and do that. But for like that,
you're just spawning a projectile.
Yeah, when an animation ends, like, that's not hard at all. I do that already all the time. So, it's just the tongue attack that would be difficult. Which, I mean, we could just not have it there for now. It could could come in later.
We could just add it after the fact.
Yeah. But yeah, my whole idea is, hopefully, by the end of the month. I mean, currently, like, the code for the boss fight is working. Now I'm just like fine tuning where I want to put things. Okay. And then other than that, it's just like, it's art. Like, the transitions happen. I could have it so that, instead of like fading out then fading back in on the biome, it goes to a different room for a moment, displays some text, like, then where we could have, if you wanted to do some hand-drawn almost cinematic animation to happen that looks like you're flying to a planet, in the future, that could go there. Like,
I thought about like playing, like, doing an animation maybe like where the ship flew like into the screen kind of thing, like leaving the planet, like flying up to the atmosphere, that kind of thing, just something like that. But and the same thing with the boss, like, I thought it would be cool not for the boss to like fly in specifically, because depending on where you are, like, on the map, like, if your last turret was like this one over here on the screen, it would be cool if if we were over here and we destroyed the last turret over here, but then the boss is going to spawn way over here. It would be neat to have like a, I don't know, a thing that popped up over here that was like a kind of like a comic panel kind of thing. Maybe it would show like the cruiser like this, and it and it would, or maybe even if there was like a captain or something, his arms crossed, and he's like just like a talking head, like, what the fuck, you terrorist.
yeah. No, yeah, I mean, I think that's cool. That wouldn't be hard to implement that, and like whatever, like, that would be its own kind of object and sprite that gets made, and it draws to the screen, and it could draw and it would stay on the camera the whole time. So like when you were watching me move around, like, the drawing of the health bar and the boost bar and the score, and then actually when the boss's health bar showed up, that all draws on a very specific layer that will always move with the camera.
Yeah.
So that could spawn and do that. And it could just always happen. The other thing is like when you hit that thing, whatever mark to get the boss to spawn, this is one thing I wanted to try to do is like have the camera move to like the center like of the screen, and then it could be some sort of animation where it's like the cruiser's coming out of warp and spawning above the town.
Like a cutscene kind of thing?
Yeah, because they're like,
yeah.
What I'm currently doing for, those transitions in and out, I actually have like the player object that, you control that actually like destroys, and then, I have something else spawn, and all I would have to do is have the camera move its focus for a moment.
Okay. But like and we would have to figure out, because like if it spawns here in the middle, like over the fountain or wherever, if these buildings are destroyed, or maybe this turret's not destroyed but this one is, like, is it going to capture the in-game map and then play, or should we just have it be like its own separate video that plays? That way we don't have to worry about the accuracy of the game state.
Yeah, I mean,
just having the video play, like if it was like an animation, and we could do a lot more with that as far as like look and feel, you know what I mean? We could do a completely different camera angle, and I could base it off of this. And I could have it warp, you know what I mean? Like over here, or maybe even, over here. Like we could pick a cool like angle, like maybe it's like a shot over the town, like if this was our frame or whatever, could be like this is, or actually be like even thinner than that. It'd be like this or whatever. There's like a warp gate that opens up, and the ship goes like shoom. And then you see like here's like forest over here, and you got the water fountain over here, the big tall buildings here, but then everything is like like smoky because we just terrorized their poor farmers.
They're farmers.
They're farmers. Frog people farmers.
Yeah.
So you could play something like this, and then it would just switch back to gameplay.
Yeah, that's possible too. I was like, very basic, just like you literally like,
yeah,
kind of like the animated sprites where it comes to here and you just see it appear. That is like a lot cooler, and maybe that could be like for the final, or if time's running out again, like I don't want to go past our timeline, because I want to I'm thinking to Code of Honor, like this is just like the learning game. Yeah. So I'm okay with bringing back the scope.
Okay, yeah, then let's scrap that, and let's just do an animated sprite of a warp gate opening, and then the ship just goes like blah out of this, you know what I mean? And then just like disappears.
Yeah, because that could be the whole animated sprite when that all happens, because then I would just have it change to
the ship would be a sprite.
Yeah,
this whole thing would be a sprite,
and then it changes to the sprite of the ship by itself.
Right.
Because currently I don't really have the ship moving, but it still should have some like life to it. So maybe have like lights flashing on it, so it's still a kind of animated sprite in its own right.
Yeah, and I've got to figure out that sprite is not the final sprite, because
I would hope not,
because it's from I just meant like it's from a pure top down view.
Yeah,
we're doing tilted top down.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm I'm actually going to try to build a tile set similar to what I would do with the buildings, and I'll just build it out of blocks and then draw over it.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be pretty much like my cheat sheet, is just building stuff with a tile set out of blocks and then painting over it.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard, like when you're sketching, to keep everything in the same perspective.
Yeah. So my plan to like where I want to be when I send it to when we send it to people to play, just to have it go through the first boss, and maybe the mini boss can be spawned, but I don't think it's it's needed, because I do want those to be secret, and like when I do, for Steam achievements, those will be secret achievements. You'd be like, why do I have 4 achievements not unlocked? I've done everything else. I've gotten all the high scores, blah blah blah. What are these? And then it's like, well, you need to search for them.
Okay, so all right, so let's run through. All right, so let me pick a different color here. That's the other color. Do this blue, or no, do this. All right, so the stuff that's in orange is what that we would like, or that need to be done. I'm gonna put the mini boss in there because I think, other than the whirlwind, which we can just eliminate, we can just stick to doing like the projectiles.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is pretty achievable art wise, so I'm gonna put the mini boss in there. Leave out the whirlwind attack. So do you feel like we have enough enemy types? We have like a small kamikaze ship, the medium ship, and then a large ship. And then the anti-air towers, we need all of their, because they have the missiles. We don't have any of that stuff, so we need that. That's stuff that needs to be done still. Do you feel like the enemy types, there's enough enemy types?
I think,
because I had an idea for one more, but I could also move it to a different biome. If you think that we have enough. Well, I could just make this the large, slow one for another biome.
Like a boomerang one?
Yeah, I had a boomerang idea. But if you think that because I think with the kamikaze ships, you already have enough stuff that's like coming at you from like all these different angles that are really fast.
Yeah.
The boomerang might be really
annoying. And since I
just move that to something else.
And since I added like at least the anti-air have it now, but this could be something that like maybe the destroyer ships also have, with the homing missiles that you have to shoot as well. Like maybe I'm just not good at games or whatever, but when I'm sitting here and playing things as they are, when things get hectic, like they get hectic. And I don't even have too much going on.
This is the same. I did the same thing twice. Let's see. So you're bad at games, I'm bad at typing. Alright, so let's get rid of this. Okay. Alright, so that's limited. Alright, the comms tower. So we have powering on, we have rotating, sending a signal or whatever. Did you get the loop to just play the rotating part, or do I need to do another sheet for that?
No, I mean, so what happens currently is that like if you're not in range, it's like in its idle state, and then it powers on, and then after it's powered on, it just does the rotating if you're staying within range, and then once you leave, it just goes back to idle.
Okay.
So like the only other